How you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crannk, and today I'm having a chat to Canadian death metalers Votov out of Winnipeg and Manitoba. Cheers, guys, for joining me.
Hey, Jai. Thanks for having us.
Massive horns up, man, and congratulations on the most recent album, IXXI. That is a killer album, man. I played the track "The Pacify the Enslaved" recently on my monthly podcast show. Killer track, man, and a great album.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all the support. Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, man, proud to support. So I want to dive into, I love talking about little musical journeys and how people got started with their respective instruments and what kind of led them down the path into the band they're in and kind of going from there. So can I ask who wants to take this first? Maybe Chuck, how did you first get into guitars and vocals, mate?
Guitars and vocals, well, first, I think it was guitars that I started. Probably would have been somebody like Randy Rhoads. When I was a young kid, listening to Aussie and stuff like that, I loved Randy Rhoads. And I don't know why guitar, like I wanted to play guitar for some reason. I think when I started seeing a lot of pointy guitars, like BC Rich kind of shapes, I was like, okay, I really like that because I like, knives and stuff like that. And it looks like a sharp knife, whatever. And that was early. And then when I was more like a teenager, I started, I guess, I was getting into like some thrash and stuff like that, and I liked a heavier vocal style, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the kind of stuff. And then when some bands like Celtic Frost were doing like more guttural stuff, I really liked that. And I'm like, I want to do that, or I want a singer that does that. Nobody would, so I was like, I'll do it. And then somebody like James Hetfield, let's say, or Rob Urbanati from Sacrifice, any of these guitar players that sing and play guitar, I was always like amazed. I'm like, how can you do that? It's really hard to sing and play. And I'm stubborn, and I'm like, I want to do that. So I forced myself to learn, and now I do that. So that's me.
Yeah, man, I've chatted to so many vocalists that are in the same position as you that have been either a guitarist, a bass player, and they've unwillingly at times picked up vocals as well to go along with it. It's crazy how many I've talked to. Just like you're like the third vocalist I've chatted to in the last 3 days that has had that same story pretty well.
But I love singing death metal though. Like, I'm more of a death metal singer than a guitar player, what I mean? So vocal is my main thing, but I did start with guitar,
Yep. Yeah, do you remember what your first guitar was?
Yeah. It was just like a no-name Sears guitar that my buddy gave me because he got a new guitar. So he gave me that. I had a couple Ibanez's here and there, but my first guitar that I loved was my BC Rich Ironbird, and it's my white Platinum series. So it's like a mid-range kind of guitar because I didn't have $1 million back then, and that was 1991 that I got that. So a little while back.
Yeah. So what are you using now?
I still have it, but I'm retiring it. Different BC Rich that I got at the same time that I'm using right now as a main guitar. I have another custom-made guitar that's made by a luthier, some guy that people don't know. And well, it's true. Right? Yeah. And I'm hoping to get another BC Rich at some point because the company is doing really well right now, and they got some nice-looking stuff. So they got new Ironbirds, and I'm wanting to get a new Ironbird at some point, and that'll be my main guitar probably.
Yeah, awesome. John, can I ask you about how you first got into playing bass?
Actually, I started playing bass by default kind of thing. When I was younger, I was always interested in wanting to play guitar. As early back as when I was like 7, I had a neighbor that was about 4 or 5 years older, and he invited me over. He had just picked up Black Sabbath Paranoid. And he's like, you got to hear this. And we sat down and listened to that album for about 4 hours straight. And since then, I was just like totally infatuated with music. And my parents they never had the money to send me to lessons or to buy me instruments and stuff like that. So when I was older, it took me till I was about 16, I guess, and saved up some money, and I went out and bought a guitar, but I couldn't play it. because it felt too close together, the strings. So I had a buddy that was doing the same thing. Like, we decided we were going to learn to play together and start a band. And he said, well, why don't you play bass? So I went out and bought a bass, and I've been playing bass ever since, about 16.
Yeah, nice. So what guitar do you remember what your bass guitar you bought back then was?
Same thing. It was just, I bought it, it was a really cheap knockoff that I bought in a music store for like $100, and it was terrible. I only had it for maybe.
All first instruments are terrible.
They are. They are. I just love hearing about it, eh?
I couldn't press down on the frets barely because everything was all the action was all terrible and everything. So I ended up buying a brand new Ibanez X series at that time, and after that I was good to go.
Yeah, cool. And what bass guitars are you using now?
I'm a Fender man.
Yep.
I got. Oh, what happened?
You want to plug it in? Plug these. I gotta get close.
Yeah, you're a Fender man?
Yeah, I've got a 78 Precision.
Yep.
That I actually bought off a good friend of mine years back. And then I've got a Jazz American. So.
Yep.
That one's really nice. My wife bought it for me a few years ago as a Christmas present, my wife and kids, and it's a really nice guitar.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So, Derek, I'm going to chat about your journey, man. You've had quite the journey as well, and you've been in a few bands too, which we'll talk about all of this.
Yeah, I started off actually playing in a big band in high school, jazz band, and starting to learn sheet music. But it wasn't really until I went to like Memphis, Tennessee on Beale Street and then got into a whole bunch of jazz bands and stuff like that where I started thinking, hey, I want to actually start learning how to play drums properly. And that's how I got my first interest in drumming. And then in the late 90s, I think I discovered Metallica and, you know, like White Zombie was around at the time and I was getting into them. And then I just started to emulate kind of what they were doing. And John Tempesta. I was into a whole bunch of different drummers at that time. So I was trying to like build up my chops, and I didn't really get serious about drumming until about 2007, I would say. Like I always kind of took it as I was a hockey player. I was always playing hockey and stuff like that. I actually sold my goalie pads for, I think it was like $500 at the time. I bought like a cheap pair of Tama Iron Cobras that were used. And then I started learning how to play double bass and started building my chops on that. And then I just started learning covers. Learning covers is actually a really good way of like developing new skills and taking somebody else's influences and kind of embedding them into your own playing. Yeah, had a big journey too. And I put a lot of hours into drumming over the years. But I got a lot of different influences. Like I love death metal, I love thrash, I love progressive. I got a pretty wide spectrum of influences.
Yeah. And can you, just so I can see you a little better, Derek, can you just move on just a smidge? Cool, man. Just so I can get you in the camera shot, bro. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Nah, you're spot on there, dude. Cool, man. So I was having a look through, man, and like some of the bands you've been in is crazy, Derek. What was the first band? I'm going to ask first bands now as we go through. Do you all remember like your first band? What was yours?
Necromancer with Justin Steer, Derek Tommy, and John Warren. That was my very first band. We were not that great at our instruments at the time, but we made do with what we like. It was a building ground, right?
Yeah.
Like definitely, I put a lot of hours into that band, but it only lasted for a couple years. So, and then I moved on to. Oh, I'm trying to remember now. There's so many bands that I was in over the years, actually.
I know I had a look through, like there's just the ones like Alpha Kill, Direwolf, Evil Survives, I Am, Necrogenesis, Noir, Redemption, and then you're in a heap of bands as well. I've done my research, man. You're Expired, Utopia, Immortal Possession as well. So a whole ton of bands, man.
Ton of bands, yeah. Dire Wolf was more of just a straight like traditional heavy metal band.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 2018 around there. We pretty much disbanded around that time. Evil Survives. We did a bunch of touring in the U.S. and all over Canada. We were on a New York record label called Heavy Artillery Records. They were bought out by Prosthetic.
Yep.
And then I was with them for 5 years. We did 2 albums and an EP. And that was a fun time. It was just really an interesting thing, touring in a band for 4 weeks at a time and just, kind of living on the fringe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's fun because it's also, you can bond with all of your friends and stuff like that. And it's a kind of a liberating feeling, right? And you're also becoming tighter with every show that you progress down the road too, right? You sink in every night, you look at each other with confidence and you're nailing everything because you're just a tight unit, right?
Yep. No,
Playing
definitely.
makes you a good musician, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, key with bands as well, why he's got to get on so well too, because sometimes when you're touring like that, you're a family, you're so close together, and you also want a bunch of creative guys that are also going to chip in and contribute creatively when you're working towards your albums and things like that.
Yeah. I remember looking at the tour itineraries of how many shows we played. I think we played 200 out-of-town shows.
Yep.
That's quite a bit for being together that long. I think it was like 3 or 4 years of solid touring, like playing.
So is it like over in Australia where the bands, like metal bands, most metal bands do better overseas? Were you getting much notice in your own country there in Canada?
Not as much as it would have been if we were to play in Europe.
Yeah.
Because Canada, all the cities are spaced out massive amounts. Like, I think to Calgary is like 13 to 15 hours of drive time from here. Yeah. So that's the next big city going to the west. Regina's not a good city to play, though.
It also helps with the creative process, because I have seen so much amazing metal coming out of Canada the last few
years. There is a lot of
good
metal.
Yeah, amazing metal. Just the last few weeks, like I've chatted to Winterhearth from Newfoundland, you guys, Cataclysm have their new album coming out, which is just amazing, man. It's just the amount of talent coming out of Canada is crazy. It's like everywhere, like here in Australia and most countries in the world, the talent is right there underneath the surface.
Yeah. Voivod, really like Voivod, eh? Voivod's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Great. Razor, Sacrifice, yeah.
There's just, you could go on and on, man. It's crazy, dude. It's really cool.
What about Augury's fucking awesome. Yeah,
so can I ask John and Chuck about kind of initially, you guys both started Votov together, didn't you?
Yep.
So can you tell me a little bit about kind of the formation of that and, how that all came to be as well?
Well, probably, I'm guessing that it was, me and John were both in Immortal Possession, right? And I was in Psychotic Gardening, which was like more of a full, like, it was a 7-piece at one point in time. But then it became a 6-piece. We had a keyboard player and 2 guitar players, another vocalist, myself singing, bass player, drummer, kind of thing, right? And then John came in to play in that band. You played in Psychotic, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Both jobs started before Psychotic. Right. But I guess I think the point is that we kind of wanted like in Immortal Possession, we used to be a 4-piece, then we were a 3-piece, but we were known as a 3-piece a little bit more, I think. So we wanted that awesome 3-piece death metal, like drummer, bass player, guitar player, and vocals, like boom, just like that. So it's like no bullshit, no nonsense, no extra shit, no keyboards, whatever. Just basically what you get. Fundamental, kind of tribal sort of. Yeah. Like I don't do leads and stuff on guitar either, right? So it's all like primal and riffs and shit like that. So so it's like and our songs are fairly short. They're like 3 minutes or whatever. Like so straight to the point, like this, hammer to the face. And that's kind of what we want, right? So if I don't know if you've watched some of our stuff we've done lately, we did some live stuff or whatever. you really hear like, oh, hey, that's what they sound like. Yeah, that's right. Because that's for real. This is the real shit for us, right?
Yeah, man.
And
I was actually just watching your Manitoba Metal Fest, some of the shots, clips from that before I jumped on here and had a chat with you guys. Really cool as well.
Thank you. Yeah, but yeah, it's so anyways, that's why we decided, okay, we're still gonna do psychotic gardening, but we're gonna do Votov on the side to have that. So that was me, John, and the old drummer for psychotic gardening, right? And then we were doing both bands, and then basically we knew that Votov was gonna dominate because in the other band it was, I don't know, things were falling apart where some people just didn't show up to jam and stuff like that. So it became, it's like, well, we're here, let's do Votov because us three are here. So we kept doing that, and then it just became more of a dominant thing. And then I don't know, it's just more powerful, fine to do.
Yeah, and then when did Derek come on board?
2018, early 2018.
Yeah. Our drummer decided that he didn't want to play live music anymore, basically, and it just wasn't his thing. And so we needed another drummer. And me and Derek were in together
for a couple of years.
Yeah, and I always liked his drumming, and it's like, he's a smart writer, a smart player. His timing's perfect, like everything I love about music. And not to say that the old drummer wasn't good. He was awesome.
Yeah, that was good too.
He was a great drummer, but he just didn't want to play live shows and stuff. And me and John want to play live shows. We want to go on tours. We want to do a lot of shit, right? And so yeah, he decided whatever. And then now Derek coming in because me and Derek were in EM, and I'm like, hey man, like, I want you to fucking come play with us. Like, you wanna?
He was the first. He contacted me first.
Well, yeah, because I mean, really, and he wanted to do it. Awesome. So let's do this, and then we started doing it. And man, I gave him some of I was writing new songs. I gave it to Derek, and he's like, give me this stuff back, and I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Let's fucking make this shit happen. And ever since then, we've been on a high, like this. Like writing good shit, recording it. Right now we're doing a video that's amazing, and it's like when it's done, it'll be so cool, man.
It looks pro. It looks really pro. Yeah.
It is top pro.
Yeah.
You'll see. It's that pro as can be. Like, it's awesome. I can't wait to show you that video. You'll
really like that video.
Yeah, man, I can't wait, dude. I'll be cranking the hell out of it. I've enjoyed the Pacify the Enslaved film clip because I just was getting into that track, and then I seen that you've done a film clip as well. I'm like, dude, that's dope as. So when did you start working on this IXXI, like getting material together and prepping for it, doing your pre-production stuff?
Just before Derek joined, actually. Well, what happened is we had sat on our first album for quite a while because the previous drummer basically kept delaying, wanting to re-record stuff and everything, pushing it back. So we ended up releasing it late at the end of 2017 in December.
Yep.
And he left the band about 2 weeks after it was released. So we're like, oh, that's not good. We just put out an album. So let's keep it on the down low. And we just started writing, and Chuck K, he came to me with about 4 songs. Me and him sat down, and I wrote a bunch of parts to what he had written, and then we presented it to Derek, and Derek took it away. And
I demoed the tracks basically. Yeah. I had my own recording studio in my basement, and I just tracked the drums and gave it back to them.
Yeah, we'll give him basically the song of what kind of the idea, and then he'll take the idea and make his own drum beats, and then basically he plays to the click track and to my guitar track, puts his drums down, and then
we have an idea of what we're gonna.
Then we get to hear what it's gonna sound like. You know what I mean? So it's awesome too.
Yeah.
Because when the songs from the new album, man, from the IXXI. It was like, what is it? Damn, I can't remember the name of the song, but gave me back these drum beats, and I'm like,
Head Over Hooves.
It's Head Over Hooves.
Head Over Hooves, yeah.
I'm like, holy fuck, man, that right there, do that, please. Like, that's what I want to hear.
It's like double ride part.
Yeah, all that shit, man. Yeah. Like, when you got the style of, like, death metal's made, and it's like, I want to hear this thing. Oh yeah, he's doing it. Okay, thank you. Like it's nice.
Like whatever we play, he knows what to play with it.
Pretty natural.
I feel so good.
And that must be encouraging too. That comes back to the creative process where, you know, you've got to have the band all kind of chipping in creatively to, you know, come in with these ideas. These are all like cogs in a machine, you know, to make it work. You can't just have like, you know, one person, as I was saying the other day, chucking down the whole piece and the band just following line. Everyone's got to bring in their different parts and elements to the band and the song and the creation and the composition of the music.
Yeah, you can't have a weak link at all. No weak links.
When you talk about cogs in the machine and stuff, we often describe our music like a big tank rolling through a town, like shooting stuff, right? So the tracks, the tracks is like the bass drums, and you know the cannons are firing, and the bass guitars.
Oh, you mean like a Panzer division?
The bass drums are the wheels shaking and shit like that, you know. And let's say the vocals might be like the guy on the front, like who knows, like you can visualize the sound of music.
Big cannon, mortar.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So when did you start recording and production, and what was that whole process like?
Like for this album?
Yeah, for this album.
See, like Derek records all of his drums here in his own home studio. So he records that. Well, like I said earlier, like I'll give him like a scratch track of a guitar with a click, basically. Then he'll send me drums, and then I'll do some slight edits here and there, just if there's a little thing here and there that's weird. And then I'll send that back to John, and he'll listen to the guitar riffs, and then he'll either write according to my riff, or he'll write polyrhythm to that riff or whatever. Comes up with his parts, and then we record him here as well. And then I'll edit that at home. I'll record my guitars at home. I do my vocals here at Derek's. Because I could sing loud. I can't sing. I live in an apartment, so there's no way I could sing at home, because the cops will come and say, "Who's killing who here?"
Yeah. I had this conversation the other day. Someone was walking around singing hip hop really loud, and I'm like, if I'd done that singing my music, I would be locked up, man. Some of the death metal I listen to.
You'd be in the loony bin for
sure.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'll give you a little quick funny story. Back in the day when I was in Serrated Scalpel, I was recording at my buddy Lenny's place for Bedside Studio. He had a studio in his house, and he had a little boy who was about, 5 years old or something or whatever. And I was doing vocals, and I was doing some crazy Glenn Benton type of shit, right? And the kid was scared, and he was crying, and he told me later, my kid was like terrified, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. Like vocals, man, it was like crazy, psycho shit, right? So it's kind of funny. It's like, holy shit.
Oh no. That's funny, man, because metalheads are the nicest dudes, eh? Like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Exactly.
Cool. So production, did you produce this yourselves?
Well, usually I'll produce albums and stuff. This time around, I made some
too.
Well, I produced the other one.
We tracked everything ourselves, and then we gave it to mix and match.
See what? Like I'll usually do the mixes and stuff, and I did make mixes, and they were decent or whatever. But my buddy Jake, he's got a wicked studio and stuff, and he, because of COVID or whatever, he was all, I have no work, I want to do something. He's like, I want to mix your album, and I was like, well, I don't know, like it's like whatever, like we don't have $1 million to like pay people's money or whatever. And he's like, no, I want to mix your album, and I'm like, oh, really? Cool. So, well, yeah, try it out, right? So he mixed a couple songs and sends it back, and we're like, oh yeah, baby, because I always get him to master my mixes. Whenever I make mixes, he masters it for me because he's got a good sense of what I need to hear and what people want to hear, let's say. But this time around, he offered to do that, and we're like, oh yeah. So he mixed it, and he mastered it as well, and I'm super thrilled, man. I'm like, fuck yeah. I want to hear every one of the instruments the way he made it sound, and that's exactly how it sounds. So.
Yeah, it sounds fucking good, man. It sounds really, really good. You must have been really pumped as well when you were like got that back and like really excited to go, man, I can't wait to unleash this on the world, eh?
Exactly.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and it's on a label, so that's even better.
Yeah, through
right?
CDN Records, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was that all like? You know, releasing it on a label and that whole process would have been really cool, eh?
Oh, it's well, me and Chuck, it's been basically our lifelong dream to be on a label.
On a proper label.
A proper label.
Someone
like,
who treats us with
yeah.
respect, let's say.
We never wanted to, like, we had offers from labels back in the Immortal days and stuff like that, but we basically, it was giving everything away.
The rights would be given away.
Yeah, and we didn't want to do that. So this deal was pretty much, we basically put together a proposition that we had sent out to multiple companies, and we've known Craig for years and years, since back probably in the 90s, and he kept bugging us to do something to reissue the old Immortal Possession stuff. And we're like, well, we're not really interested in doing that, but we have this. And he listened to it and he said, yeah, I'm interested. And shortly after he signed us, we talked to Derek and we're like, hey, how would you feel about re-recording all the Immortal Possession materials from back then? And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. So that was the next thing. We called up Craig and he's like, I'll sign you guys for that too. So he basically signed out at Votov and Immortal Possession to CDN. So Immortal Possession has an album coming out early in 2021 that Derek just finished doing all the drums for, and
It's all wrapped up. Yeah.
Awesome. So what was that like, getting back in and doing that? Because I got to hear more of this, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. That's the first thing I get off. Once I get off talking to you guys, I'm going to be slamming down some Immortal Possession, dude.
Oh man, it's awesome, man. Right now, like, I'm hearing the drum beats right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, because we demoed all of these songs previously to this particular drum recording, so we already know that it sounds wicked. The difference is with this album, with the Immortal Possession album, because we were a four-piece originally, we got one of our buddies, Lee Arnone, it's one of my friends from a long time back, and he's our second guitar player. So you hear the different styles of, like, you know, because we have our hands do things that are like different, and you could tell when one guy's doing both rhythms or whatever.
different nuances.
So Lee is such a wicked player, man, and I'm always honored to play with amazing musicians. My whole life, I got to play with amazing musicians. These two guys, top notch. That's why I'm so happy right now, right? And so Immortal Possession has the two guitar players. Now, we also had leads back then, right? But me and Lee don't do leads. We're both rhythm players. So for this, we're gonna like
Have a guess.
couple of guests, friends of ours that are awesome guitar players, gonna come and make that shit flavorful, man. Get that wicked, you know what I mean? And then on the Immortal Possession stuff, we also had violins in a couple of songs because, you know, we love Celtic Frost,
My Dying Bride.
things like that too, right? And then we have a couple of really doom songs where I wanted to put some like violins, voices, and horns and shit like that too, because I kind of like that shit too. So with the Immortal Possession album, we're going to take a little more liberties with studio stuff, you know, because it's not like we have to recreate too much of that live or whatever at this point in time, because we're Votov, right?
Yeah.
And that's our turn. But this Immortal Possession thing is going to be a great thing to do, and I already have artwork ready to go, everything, man. It's all like,
It's good because you can breathe new life into some stuff, and it'd be like you're saying, it's hell exciting to go. Look, now I've got Derek on, man. I don't want to just keep like rehash the past. I want to recreate and bring new life into things as well. If I'm going to do this, I want to bring it out a little more and get guests in, man. That's going to be hell cool.
Yeah.
Like kind of to push that as well. Get a heap of guests from the Canadian metal scene to lead guitar and things like that. It's going to be awesome.
oh yeah, we got good players out here. Like, there's some of our friends like that are gonna do this are really awesome. So I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the first time in 30 years or whatever, with Derek playing drums, we're actually hearing these songs the way they were meant to be heard, that we just couldn't create on the demos back in the day.
Yep.
So that's really exciting in itself.
Yeah, like, I mean, we weren't as talented back then as we are now, so to speak. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember back in the day when we first went into the studio for the first time and I heard myself playing back and the guy soloed my shit. I was like, fuck, do I suck? This is brutal. I learned I have to be better than that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
So I learned how to play way better than, you know, the first times around, right?
Yeah.
And then later in Immortal Possession, when our second guitar player had quit guitar to play drums, that's when we became a three-piece, and that's when I was forced to be the only guitar player. So I was like, holy fuck, if I fuck up, people are gonna hear. So that's when I became more
self-aware.
more self-aware, more vigilant in my making sure that, you know, I'm not making mistakes. Like I don't want to be a fucking.
And you deliver.
You know what I mean? I want to play wicked. So
I'm gonna tell you something. Learning these songs is a big step out of my fucking boundaries here, because it was really weird for me going into it, because I wasn't used to like sudden tempo changes, like right on the money, like tempo change here, tempo change there, and there's a lot of them everywhere.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. So that really like made me have to like dissect things a lot more. And
so what was that process like? Like, you know, you going out of your comfort zone like that. Did you enjoy it?
I'm not gonna lie, learning 16 songs that are, you know, 5 and 6 minutes long each, it can be a time-consuming process.
You know what's fun? It's that it's like in Votov, most things are like it's either 3/4 and 4/4, basically, right? But in Immortal Possession, it's like 5/16, 7/8, 3/4 time, 4/4, half time.
Feel changes on the fly,
tempo and time signature changes lots, and then there's some stuff where it slows down ridiculous, and it's
free time too. Like I'm not doing this to a click map or anything really. Like obviously when we record, we are, but live we won't be, because there's just too many time changes in the songs.
But he nails it like so good.
I try.
It would be cool too, like having, you know, going from Votov and going back into that Immortal Possession and doing that album. And the good thing about ultra creative guys like yourselves, you can have like all these different bands and you're bringing out these different albums and genres and styles, and you don't get stuck into that whole metal elitism that seems to fucking float around sometimes. It kind of does my head in. And I love watching bands like yourselves. And another one that comes to mind, Dramie Kling and Taylor Nordberg from The Absence, and they do so much as well, and they're always in all these different bands. And like yourselves, it's great to see you're keeping busy, especially in this time like where it's really hard. I suppose you've got your first gig tomorrow, man, but what's it like bringing out this Votov album in this, you know, this COVID time, dude, where you can't, you know, initially play straight away?
It's bizarre, let's put it that way. It's very bizarre, and we're dealing with a show that has a capacity of about 106 people, so
they're
forced to sit down. Okay, so check
Yeah.
this out. Like, I know you guys have it bad, but worse than us. But me and my girl were at a show a couple of weeks ago, and we're like, you know, you're forced to be at a table, and we were standing up and we were headbanging, and we were told, hey, tap, tap. Like this. Like, no headbanging. You gotta sit down and just sit there like a fucking good little boy.
A good little boy, yeah.
And it was like, okay. So, yeah. But we are able to play shows, and we are able to have
which
people,
is good.
Which is like, I can't believe I'm like, thank you.
We're playing
thank you for having ability to play in front of people. Like, what the fuck's happening to our world, man? But yeah.
It's crazy time. It must be good to get out there and actually get it into there and play the show. Because you got a show, what's that coming up tomorrow there for you, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow,
Tomorrow at the Park Theater.
Yeah. So we get to see these people's faces, like the audience's faces in person, and it's wow. You really remember what it was like. It's like really wild. And when everybody's sitting down, I remember seeing Iron Maiden behind the Iron Curtain when I was young. You know what I mean? You saw these shows on this videotape of Iron Maiden playing in Poland, and everybody was forced to sit down. No fucking moving around, no headbanging. That's Canada.
It'd be really surreal because I've watched some of your footage of your live shows, you know, and the crowd's jumping around. You got dudes, you know, jumping on and stage diving, and it looks really, really cool. And that one of the Manitoba Metal Fest, man, that was cranking, dude.
That was a
Must
great
be,
show.
yeah, that must be a cool show. Was that 2019?
It would have been last.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
2019 was the one I was watching, man. What was that show like? Was that one of the last shows before you got in there, or one of the real big shows, or?
That was one of our bigger shows. Like we played a show. When was the last show we played? About
A couple months ago there.
2 or 3
comeback
months
show.
ago. But yeah, we were actually the first metal band in Canada
North America.
or North America
North America.
to play a metal show since the beginning of COVID.
In front of people live.
Yeah. So
And it was on the internet, like,
We were live streamed actually.
Live streamed, yeah.
We live streamed it.
yeah, you can find it online.
I think it's on our profile.
It is on our profile, yeah.
It's a good show, man.
Yeah, man, I'll chuck the links in there for this as well, so everyone can check it out too, man. It's killer,
The
killer
Village
stuff.
Idiots.
Yeah.
The Village Idiots.
Yeah.
They produced it.
Yeah,
And you know what? Killer job with the camera work, I think.
Yeah. And then we did something with Red Tie Live, and they were fucking awesome.
They were great too.
That was back in I think January or February.
But wasn't that before COVID?
Yeah, that was
Yeah, it was
before
before COVID. In the
Yeah.
winter time. I
Yep.
remember going in there, it's super cold. The heater wasn't even on.
Yeah. And now it seems like that's the future of shows. Like, I sure hope not.
yeah,
Live stream.
yeah. I
Come
hope
on,
not.
man.
Because live streaming, like, I don't know, you've probably noticed it because I noticed John's got a fair bit of presence on social media. I wanted to ask about this, you know, because it's this time you've got to do a lot of social media trolling to get your music out there. It's hard because you get all these big pages, all these likes and, you know, millions of people or whatever, and you only have a couple of interactions here and there. And sometimes it's only legitimate interactions. And that's the thing with live streams. You'll have people live streaming it, but they're not supporting. And I've seen a ton of people moaning about actually spending money for live stream tickets. It's like, well, what the hell are you going to be doing when you go into a live show, man? Like, you're fucking buying a ticket anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. Nailed it.
And it's becoming a sad time because everyone thinks like it's great to get all these Spotify listens and streams and digital streams and whatever. But what's really great is getting support. You know, if you love an album on Spotify, man, head over and buy it. You probably tell with me, dude, I'm like a ton of merch. I'm always rocking a different shirt. I'm always buying merch. It's like, I love the music scene and I love bands. So if I like a band, I'm always going to go and buy the album, buy a physical copy. I bought a record player just so I could fucking waste more money on merch because I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
And I love.
That's awesome, man. We love people like you.
Yeah.
And
We are people like
Well,
you.
and
We
Yeah.
are.
And that's the thing I find. Most metalheads in the scene that are supporting it are usually guys out of bands as well, other musicians that are buying merch and things like that, especially in this time, because hardly any of the governments of the world have fucking supported any of the bands, the musicians, or the arts industry. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And talking about support, where'd be the best place that you know, they can get along and support Votov, Immortal Possession, and the things you have going forward? Like, where's the best place to get some Votov merch and things like that?
Well, the Votov merch, we're trying to get up a store right now.
Yep.
But, yeah, through Facebook. Right now, you can shoot us a message for shirts and stuff like that. For our CD,
CDN.
best way is to go direct through CDN, their website, to get it from them. And yeah, like probably in the next couple of months, though, we'll have up a merch store. And
So keep an eye on the socials for the merch store to come up.
yeah,
I don't even think it'll be much.
Definitely,
It'll
yeah.
probably within a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe.
It's up to me to send that.
Yeah, well, I'll put up the links again when you guys are ready and you got the merch ready to go. I'll plug it out too as well because I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it, and I love promoting the scene, and you know, especially guys like yourself that are bringing out this amazing fucking metal, man. Like, I love death metal, dude. It was great to jump into this Votov album.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, cool, man. So I might sign out, let you guys get about the rest of your night. Before I do, last words and shout outs from you all.
I want to say fucking horns up or metal or whatever the fuck we all say. Every one of these awesome people that love the same things we do. Like, we're in this, man. We're putting this shit out. Like, I don't give a fuck about COVID and all this other bullshit, man. I'm gonna make some fucking metal. I'm gonna keep doing all this shit. I'm gonna go fucking crazy making it. So this is me fucking saying fucking cheers to everybody. And to you, thank you so much for doing this, man. I can't believe you're on the other side of the world, and you're my friend, and I freaking love it, man. I love it, man.
Legend.
Right? That's what I got to say.
Yeah. I want to say the same thing. I'd like to thank everybody out there that supports us, all the radio stations, all the independent guys that are doing reviews and stuff like that on the band, and just everybody that's helping to spread the word and are out buying our albums and stuff like that. So, cheers to you all.
Yeah, cheers to all our family, all our friends, everyone who comes out to all of our shows, who supports us through buying our merch, pretty much everybody who supports us in any way, and you know what, who stands up for us too. You know, there's been a lot of people standing up for us lately, and that's a really good feeling.
I don't know.
You might not know about that.
I don't know if you heard about all the controversy we had surrounding our
music video.
Our music video clip. Maybe that's for another show.
That's for another show.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that. We've done the last words. This show, we can talk about whatever. Nah, we'll talk about it next time, man. That's for sure. I won't have any about it.
Wait till the video comes out.
Maybe we'll have a chat off camera.
Hey, when the video comes out, though,
when the video comes out, we'd like to do something.
We should call you and say, this is what happened.
Yeah.
That would be good. We'll do another one and we'll chat about it. Everyone, so stay tuned. Watch this space. Until then, everyone check out Votov. Go check out Immortal Possession. Go chuck some likes, subscribe, follow. Buy the album through CD and records. Always buy, support your scene, because support is everything. Thank you very much, Votov. Horns raised from Australia. Cheers.
Cheers. Take care, man.